Good Bad Breakthrough Podcast. We live episode 21. 21. What does 21 mean, people out there? You know what I mean? Like when you turn 21, like you're an adult. Oh my gosh. This podcast is now an adult. Can we give it a round of applause?
Round of applause, everybody.
You know what I mean? Snapping fingers. We grown. We got Black Don't Crack Keena. You know what I'm saying? She gonna look like this.
I get it from my mama.
You get it from your mama, Gayleen. Shout out to Gayleen because you're beautiful. Yes, you are. Black Don't Crack. We got Andrea. Yep. I was gonna say we got you get your credit right. Get your credit right, but like, do I fit it? We got Drew. I'm Peach. We got a guest speaker today, and this guest speaker means a lot to us. For those of you who don't know who this young man, just unbelievable, unselfish father. The way he interacts with his family, his wife, their connectivity. He's so kind. He's so caring. I really admire his warmth. You know, every time he's in a room, I can feel his heart, his soul. Thank you for the vibrations, Jason. I appreciate you. But he's just so warm, you know, and really being around him, I don't give him enough credit because I don't talk about enough, and I don't talk about a lot. But being around him just influences me to be a different type of dad, you know, to be a different type of husband, to be a different type of leader, and just to lead with your heart and make sure your heart is pure. It's one of the purest people I've ever been around, you know, and I love him very much, and a lot of things have transpired because of our relationship. Let's give it up for Jason Hafeman, guest speaker today.
Woo-woo. What's up, Jason?
Hi, guys. Good to see you again. See you all the time, but it's nice to be on this side with you too, and willing to share a little bit today, of course. So, Drew, that was very kind and very sweet. Appreciate it.
Of course, man. You're a brother to me. You're family, and you know, I really do admire a lot about you. I'm so excited to have you on the show. It took us 21 episodes to get here. And no fault of ours or Jason's, you guys. We just were like, man, let's have him on the pod. Jason, when it comes to values and beliefs, you know, a lot of similar values and beliefs, a lot of similar visions. We do a lot together. For those of you who don't know, Jason just helped host the Dane by Local Leadership Conference. Give it up again for Jason. He had to manage through in-person audience, Zoom, switching out links, doing the virtual for the virtual folks, making sure things didn't echo as much when he had to do the sound. If you guys missed the local leadership conference, we talked about, you know, building, developing, retaining a team that feels safe and supported, and then the psychology behind leadership. And it's very valuable, very impactful. Got a lot of positive feedback from the event, connected with a lot of people. And I'm just so proud of you, Jason. I could edify you on this podcast until episode 50, but then I'd never shut up and I'd never hear about you. Jason, why don't you just introduce yourself, you know, edify yourself, talk about some values and beliefs, and let's just keep it organic like we normally do.
Sure. I appreciate that. I was really fortunate as a child growing up. You know, I had a very different life experience. I've learned a lot about you guys over the past 20 weeks plus, and you've shared so much of yourselves, and I admire you all for that. You know, you guys had a much harder road to get to your early 30s than I did. I was very lucky. I had incredible parents, family that instilled great values in me and gave me opportunity to do that in terms of just, you know, understanding that hard work is important, understanding that family is important. But I always had that support and base from my parents, and I love them to death, and I'd do anything for them. So same thing with I have a brother and a sister, and we're all pretty tight. And I was lucky enough to find an incredible life partner when I was in college. You know, I had the opportunity to go to college, and with that, you know, had I not been where I was at that time, my life would be very different right now. We would have never met, but I was lucky enough to find Lenica in our college years, and she is an incredible partner for my life. We have amazing kids. They're really fun. They're interesting. They're sometimes complicated. They keep us on our toes. They're very different, but they get along well. You know, there's a number of layers to the onion, but you know, for me at the core, it's my family, and the core values my parents instilled in me, which are respect and just doing your best, like you guys have talked about many times. And I have this cool thing with my son, so I drop him off at school most days, and I always tell him, you know, regardless if he has a test coming up or he has, you know, anything else, I'm like, just do your best today. Do your best. And I'm like, and that's going to be different from day to day, because some days you're going to be, your best level is going to be a little higher than other days based on the way you're feeling, based on all the things going on in your life and your world. And only you, and that's what I tell him too. I'm like, I don't know if you did your best, but only you can truly know if you did your best. And if you did, if you get a C+ on this test and that was your best, we're great. You know, if you get an A on the test, that was your best, perfect. You know, great. But that's up to you. And so I'm trying to teach him that too, like how doing your best every day is important. You're going to have ebbs and flows, ups and downs. But, you know, if you work from a real place and try to make each day the best it can be, then you shouldn't have any regrets at all.
I love Jason. I love you so much, so big. Only you know. That is so critical and important for people to really understand this. Like, you are really the only person that knows if you're living behind your values and beliefs or if you're not. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what we read, no matter what we say, no matter what we think about you, like, we're not relevant. Like, only you know. And it brought me back to our conference at Dane by Local. And you'll have to remind me of the young man's name, the Latino brother. What was his name again?
Oh, Justice?
Justice. You remember, man, we gonna do something with Justice. Justice, I'm gonna manifest with you. I hope you watch this podcast. We gonna link up, my brother, because you got it. We got it. But when he had talked about values and beliefs, and even when you talked about only you knowing and you making decisions, you know, based around your family, you're making decisions based on your values, and I admire that so much. Only you knowing what you do or how you live. When Justice was at that conference and he talked about, you know, similarly to like the 5 pillars that we talked about before, and, you know, faith, family, finance, fitness, freedom, like judging yourself at the end of the day, when you go to look in that mirror and you're looking at the man or the woman in the mirror, did everything you do today, did it say, this is what makes me me? You know, I'm going to judge myself. Did I do enough in these categories of things that I want to focus on where I can say, yep, I live by my values and beliefs? Or was it something like, man, if this is what I value and believe, and this is not adding up, I got reflection to do, I got some work to do, I got to keep working on this. Okay, now let me reassess the man in the mirror. Now I can go to sleep. You know what I mean? Like, and even Eric Thomas and Secrets to Success podcast, shout out to ET. It was a pleasure meeting you the multiple times I met you. But shout out to them, and just knowing that, you know, they really don't sleep until they focus on their pillars. Their 5 pillars: fitness, family,
faith, finances,
finance, and freedom. You know, and for the first time in a very long time, and I have to give myself grace, and it's still hard for me to do that. I went to bed a couple nights ago without focusing on my pillars, and the pillar that lacked the most, to be vulnerable, transparent, and God love my life right here, is my family. And I got lost in all the finance and freedom and making phone calls, setting up business bank meetings, on phone with investors, just making everything move. There was so much movement in this day, and then even linking other people up to do programs, and, you know, being at the dinner table, doing these things. I was so hyper focused on just this legacy work that hasn't really had as much movement as it did on, what was it, Tuesday? On Tuesday, that there was this inner, like, shame in me that even when Andrea called me and I'm in the middle of doing all these things, I ain't answer my phone. And it was the one day in probably, like, 2 months in my perspective. It's been a long time since that's happened. And Andrea knew, like, Andrea and Alicia knew, they're like, we know you're working. Like, we know. But, you know, Andrea and I are going to do our shadow work, you know, after the pod and the date. And it's just I want to share it with you guys because it's relevant to reflection and even our audience and our viewers. Like we're not perfect. Like it's just like Jason said. Like we're sharing our stories. We're sharing like our traumas and our upbringings, and we want people to realize that like no matter who you are, no matter what you think, like we all have problems. We all have opportunities. We're all working on things, and yeah, this is a beautiful moment of being transparent that I lost sight of that family focus, and I'm very excited, babe. I'm very excited to talk to you about it and to process it and be held accountable. It's not going to. I'm not going to enjoy the feelings, but I'm going to accept them. And maybe I change how I receive the information. You know what I'm saying? If you listen to the last podcast, shout out to Keena and how you perceive things, you know. But I love you so big.
I just want to jump in real quick and say like the way that resonates like for me, Jason, when you were talking about, you know, how you tell your son do your best. Um, for me, that really shows up when it comes to being in the gym, you know, because in the gym, I feel like that is the one of the main places for me where it's like where I challenge myself to be like, am I gonna just show up? Because sometimes just showing up is enough. That's okay. Sometimes that's the only mission is just to get there. But then it's like if when I'm in my workout, when I'm tired, when I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to do, but it's like I can do one more. Let me do one more. And then it's like, okay, I came to the gym. I got what I came for. And I tell that to my kids. It's like, like I tell them like, what you're here for. You know what the reason is why you're here. So do what you came for. So that at least when you go home, at least you know like that you did not leave anything, you know, on the table. Like don't leave, you know how like they when people like, oh, they ate, don't leave no crumbs. Leave any crumbs on the floor, on the table. You know what I mean? Like, so it's something to it. But I think for me, when I'm in the gym is when I feel that challenge, that call that only I can answer, right? Only I can do what I came for. One more rep, push myself through that wall, through the fatigue or whatever, not to the point of injury or danger, but just past the point of that mental, you know, enough to get me a little bit further than what I probably thought I could do.
That rings true for me too, because that's something like I have a number of things that qualities I'm proud of, but probably the most proud of the fact that I don't stop generally when other people do. So in a lot of situations where things are hard, you know, in a lot of cases it's coming to effect in jobs and roles in professions where, you know, someone else might be more gifted than me or have some advantages over me, but I won't stop when they will. And so that drive and determination and effort, again, goes back to values that, you know, our parents just instilled in us. It's like we were taught working hard, the value of it. And because of that, you know, you can achieve a lot of things if you put the right mindset to it, determination, and you give the effort. The other thing I have done for many, many years is not been afraid to take opportunities that have come my way. So, you know, and I haven't regretted. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. But if you don't, you know, I've jumped for a long time in the idea that if you don't at least give yourself the chance for some of those opportunities, you're not going to achieve things that you want to achieve. So that's another big philosophy I live by.
I love that. You know what that makes me think about is two things. One, Andrew's gonna love this. Is it makes me think about Eric Thomas's book, Average Skill, Phenomenal Will. And I'm definitely not calling you mediocre, Jason, because you got skill, okay? But what Eric Thomas says in his book is like you can be like an everyday person, but if you got a phenomenal will, that willpower is really going to get you there. You know that you are going to get to where you're going to go. Another book my friend Jamal Eubanks, he wrote this book called Determination to Succeed. And it's also similar to that. It's like, I'm determined to succeed. Ain't nothing gonna stop me. And Will Smith's book, because Will Smith said, have y'all read Will Smith's book? Anybody?
It's in my cart. It's in my cart.
Y'all gotta read that book. His book is so good. In his book, he was just like, he said something like, you cannot outwork me. He was like, when everybody else stops, I'm gonna keep going. And he knows that. Like, and he talked in his book, he was writing about like how Tom Cruise did this, and he was like, well, Tom Cruise gonna get tired, and I'm gonna keep going.
E.T. said that in one of his speeches too. If you go back to one of the videos that he made, he's basically saying he doesn't care how qualified you are, how much skill you have, but you are not going to outwork him.
You will not outwork me.
Yes,
this man live, like, yo, degrees, this, that, cool, yeah. You will not outwork me. And
I be seeing that in you, Jason.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, 100%, a 1,000,000,000%. And for those of you who do watch the pod on Spotify and you see the video and you saw me and Andrea giggling, I'm gonna let her tell you why we were giggling.
So when Jason was talking about his hard work, we both wrote down hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And we looked over and both of us were writing it down at the same time. So
now, for the sake of reality, I just want to know your perspective. And maybe it's some ego, but who wrote it first?
I don't know, because I didn't look over.
I know. So
you probably wrote it and then looked over. Did you see me writing?
Yep. So from my perspective, I wrote it and I was done writing.
And I was in the middle of writing.
Well, we could look at the pod.
We're gonna have to run it back.
We can run it back to see.
We gotta run it back.
So I wrote it, and then I looked, and then my perspective was she started writing, and I pointed to mine, and she looked and read mine as she was writing hers, and then we giggled. But it's interesting how it's interesting. So I want to shout this out to people in general, in relationships and marriage, and how connected you are. It's interesting on how much we connect, that we're getting to a point that when we hear something, we have similar resonations because it's been an instilled value and belief within us. You know what I mean? So think about this. Now we're at a point where I'm like, yo, do you want a male in this part of the business or do you want a female? Because I got the female for you. You know what I mean? Like, if you need females coaching female, here you go. Take on Dreya. Like, we got the same values and beliefs. Huh?
So you do that anyway.
I really do. I volunteer on Dreya time all the time. Now, not to be disrespectful, like, I have her permission to do it.
No, he volunteers me first. And then he'll say, but if you don't want to do it, it's okay too.
But I do it because I
was volunteering all type of stuff on podcast episode 19, wasn't he?
Was I?
You did volunteer her for some stuff. I was like, did he ask her consent for this?
Yeah. So I get there. I get to the permission at some point. But it's super fulfilling that, we're just living behind our values and beliefs, and our kids, like, they know the values and the beliefs. And Jason had made something about having parents that are very supportive and encouraging, and he's been blessed. And we're always talking about Asen and Jason. So I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna manifest this now. Asen will be our Jason. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I say it with all due respect and humbly, but like, just the level of determination, hard work beating talent when talent doesn't work hard. We resonate with that to the fullest. Like, when we decide to do something, even shout out to Keena, because Keena in another city and state, we in a different city and state, Jason's in a different city. And I told Keena, I'm like, yo, we can give grace, G, because if the shoe was on the other foot, like, I'd rather be with my family, and you know what I'm saying? We could podcast. Keena was like, I'm committed. I'm invested. Like, no, like this. And yo, you've always had my heart, G. But when you said that, I'm like, yo, she here. Like, we here. You know what I mean? So
I was super committed.
Yeah, and it's just, but the four of us, 21 episodes deep, and here we are on this beautiful journey and the different things that we're helping people out with. You never know how much you influence someone's life until they make a decision to tell you how much you've influenced their life.
I love that.
I remember when Chef Rod relieved me of my employment at Bonefish Grill. Not to go too deep into it, but I was still elevating. I was a little cocky. I was a little conceited. I was boastful. I was a lot cocky, says Andrea. And I remember walking out on a night where I could have been, an abundance amount of help and support, but I decided to be selfish and say, hey, because I didn't get all these parties and I was stuck with this bunk party in the bar, like I just walked out of my shift. And it's a reflective moment for me. But I remember Chef and, JD, the owner and the kitchen manager at the time, Chef had tears in his eyes and he was holding me real close and he held my hand and he looked at me and was like, Drew, I want you to know something. And he brought me like this man was so close to me, he could kiss me. And he told me, he said, when you believe in someone, you never stop believing in them. And then a tear rolled down his face. And I'm just crying and weeping. And I don't know what led me to share that with y'all. But
keep going.
I just really didn't know how much he believed in me until he was looking at me in my face crying and then relieving me of my employment. You know what I mean? And it was a moment that needed to happen because when he brought me back 2 months later, I gave myself a version of myself that I didn't know was in me because I chose to believe somebody that they believed in me. And even though I didn't believe in myself in that moment, because he had poured so much into me, I made a decision to believe him. But people will really never understand how much that man meant to me. And I think she gets it because she was there for it. But like, just to have somebody like that, like love you unconditionally and just iron sharpens iron and always be coaching, developing, and educating forever and just no excuses. Like you want to say this and you want to validate it as an excuse, or do you want to say this and just know you got to get around it, And he was just a very special person to me. And it's like, I always tell people like the self-sustaining ecosystem is just, it's his spirit that lives within me now, like I carry on our legacy together. And there's times where, I'm having conversations with people and I just, like I know Chef's in the room and I can hear his laugh in my ear, But yeah, I don't know how to close this because I got emotional and I drifted a little bit. Y'all see my emotions, like they take me places. Go ahead, Jason.
Let me just follow up on that. I always go back to someone has to believe in you. Someone has to give you a chance. Like we can talk about making our own opportunities and sometimes we can, but a lot of times we can't make our own opportunities. We need somebody to give us a shot. Mm-hmm. So understanding that, valuing that, appreciating that, but also carrying that with you and that perspective, I think is really important as you grow and do whatever else you're going to do with your life. No matter how high you ascend, keeping that perspective that at some point, somebody gave you a shot to help you get where you are, I think is really important.
What's that saying that they say about luck, y'all? Like when people say, oh, you're lucky, it's like, yeah, you're lucky, but like I prepared.
Prepared, yep. And the right, being like having the right, like in the right place and stuff like that.
Exposure, whatever, just in the right room. Yeah. But when you meet one person, and this is because everybody needs to get a little bit lucky. Everyone needs to get lucky to get it. But you meet one person. Prime example, Jason. Do you remember when we first met? Where were we?
I had emailed you and you just said, come on down, let's talk. And so I met you at your restaurant.
Okay. So digitally, you reached out to me.
Yep.
And for those of you who don't know Drew, oh, did you get my email? Yeah, Jason laughs because he knows. Like email? No, I'm not on no email. If it's important, text me. Like, you know what I mean? So I made a decision to respond to you and to tell you to come to the restaurant. One may argue that's lucky. I was lucky to go against something I don't normally do and invite you to the restaurant. And look where we're now. Look where we're at now. So it's like when you have that opportunity, seize the moment, take the opportunity. Don't put it off. If you got the time and it's important to you, and it's values and beliefs, and it fits in your vision, make it happen. Don't make excuses, you know? And just so grateful and blessed to be here. 21 episodes in, 6 months of our relationship. You know, I've spent more time with you than I probably have most people in the world, bro. Like outside of Andre and the kids, you know. But yeah,
Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. That's what it is.
preparation meets opportunity.
Opportunity.
Yes, I love it. You know, so be
Yeah.
prepared, be ready. You know,
Yeah.
I'm ready. If you want generational self-sustained ecosystem plan, I got it. I can get it in 40 minutes now. You know what I mean? If you want to invest, I got the 60 seconds. You know, if you want to be a part of the program, 2 minutes. Like, what do you want to do? Like, I'm like, so that
And
brings
it's like, look at, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna be a resonation with what Jason said. Remember at the conference last week when Jason said it was about interviews and it was about presentations, and he had said if it's here, if it's right here, and you eat, sleep, and you do it, you don't need to practice. You don't need to know all the questions, because like I know what my answers are even before you question me. So when you drop that bar or that question, I already know how to answer it because I answer it every day. And that when Jason, next time I want to manifest that you give a 40-minute, because like, even Alicia that I was with, she was like, I really wish, like, you and Keena killed it, but I really wish Jason had another 20 minutes because you were killing it. And like when you stop, like I felt like we were climaxing. Did you feel that way?
Cliffhanger.
Yeah, I'm like, no, like let's rearrange.
It was definitely
Forget the panel, bro. Like keep going, like, because you was just on fire, and I was just so attracted to you in that moment. Like, I gravitate towards you anyway, but just in that moment, like, I don't know if you saw me, but I was like moving my tapping my feet. I'm like, okay, I'm doing my acing. You know what I'm saying? I'm dancing. I'm like, okay, Jason, but it just really resonated with me with like when it's here, it don't matter what I'm ready. Preparation, right?
That's what
opportunity. That's luck.
That's what frees you up too to be your best self, the best version of you. My whole talk about what I wanted to work into the conference was just helping people with nerves. You know, they're going to communicate in front of groups, in any format, in any media format, what have you. A lot of people get nervous. You put a camera on them, you put them in front of a group of people. And I was that way too. But what I learned, and it was just an epiphany in my early 20s, was that if I stop doing all this preparation, stop thinking about all the variables, stop thinking about what is someone going to ask me, how are they going to judge what I say, and just understand that I'm going to go into this, I'm going to be myself, I'm going to be my best self and represent myself truthfully. And if I do that, then everything's going to come out the way it's supposed to. It's not going to be, never going to be perfect, but everything's going to come out the way it's supposed to. And I'm going to have a true representation of me. And that's always good enough. That's how I live now. And it's helped me so much in everything.
I love that, Jason. Thank you.
Oh my God.
I want to know, like, what are you manifesting? Like, what do you see for yourself coming? Like, what is something like that you're manifesting for yourself right now?
This has been my issue probably for a very long time. I know we're going longer here, but this has been my issue for a very long time, which is I have so many different interests. And it's kind of funny because a lot of people really get into, you know, they hone in on one thing they really love, and then they become kind of an expert at that. You know, whether it's a skill, whether it's a gift, what have you. My brother's a great example because he's an incredible musician, right? So music, he was always about music. And I like to sing and I enjoyed music, but I also like to do all these other things. And in college, I was like talking with a good friend, and I just looked at her and I'm like, okay, I'm acting, I'm singing, I'm doing broadcasting now, I'm doing all these other things. You know, most people just focus on one thing. And I'm like, does that mean I don't have a personality? Like, I don't know. Like, do I know who I am? And she just said, she hit me in the face with it. It was like, Well, that is who you are. You are all of these things. And because you're all of these things, you'll be able to work with people in ways that other people couldn't. But just because you're not specializing in one thing, or you're not the best at something, doesn't mean that you're not a wonderful person. And I was like, okay, it kind of settled me down a little bit. And so I've just kind of been following the path here, right? Following some of my passions, following the path. I'm hoping to do more broadcasting with the radio station that I work with, Devil Radio. So I'm hoping to get more into that in the near future. And that's, but there's other things with that too. Like I love working with you guys. I love doing things with At Your Core. One thing I want to specialize with At Your Core is providing, AV and tech for live stream events. I mean, I think I have the capability to do that, and I can help people with their events at the same time as, providing a service that will help bring income to me and my family.
That is so dope. And can I just validate for a moment? Can I just validate that, the fact that, like what you said about your earlier life, how you would try all these different things, you would take all these chances. Things did not necessarily always work out, but you don't regret any of them. I think that kind of set you up, right, for like where you are now by, dibbling and dabbling like into these things, and then figuring out the things that you love, the things that you want to let go of. I think that where so often people try to train us to like do this, narrow specialty type of life. And it makes us think like we should not have all of these multi interests that we have. And, it's like you getting the chance to, you giving yourself the permission and the freedom, and then your friend validating that for you. It gave you the opportunity to be like, okay, yeah, I like this, I like that. You're really great at the things that you are so passionate about. And it allows you to go deeper into exploring. It helps you to like uncover other things that you're so excited about. And like, I think that's such an amazing life to live, that you get to, explore all of those things.
I love it. I got so many resignations. We gotta keep it. It's 3:30.
I appreciate you. You got a date to get to.
I know. So follow your purpose. If you don't know your purpose, follow your passion. For your passion will lead you to your purpose. Everything Keena does, in my eyes, there's so many different things we do. It's all revolved around self-healing. Mm-hmm. In my perspective, Keena extremely values healing. Okay? So what Keena does, her purpose and her passion, not to project, this is my perspective. Everything Keena does is encouraging healing. A lot of leadership-based things, you have to heal and you have to grow. Mm-hmm. A lot of what Jason does is revolved around communication. He learned a wonderful communication as a child, so he went to school to learn how to enhance that communication, because he himself said, hey, I will outwork you. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So now that he knows, now he's hooked. Now he wants to teach this to other people. Mm-hmm. Andrea. Ooh, I got so many ones for you, G. Healing, okay? Healing and figuring out her belief in herself so she can teach it to others. That's what I see. Healing and belief in yourself. Mm-hmm. Because you've learned how to do it. Mm-hmm. And you know how it feels to do it. And I see you glow and I see you shine. And I see you vibrate on a high level when you teach it to other people, because you're taking them out of their pain and their trauma, or you're at least giving them an option to say it's possible. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I don't want to talk about me. I just want to talk about y'all. But like, so for me, like, I'm always working on being I don't want to use the hierarchy language, but being a better version of myself.
You're the connector.
Yeah, I'm the connector. So because I want to be a different version of myself and I want to connect with myself, I teach other people how to be a different version of themselves and how to connect with themselves. And we do it passionately. We do it because this isn't work to us. To hop on the pod, drop 4 or 5 hours in the pod with all the back work we do. We love doing this. You know, it's a service that we provide to ourselves, and it benefits other people. Like, we would have this conversation over dinner if we wanted to. So I love y'all so big.
We love you back.
Drew, I'll just say one quick thing is I think you help people be a truer version of themselves.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. I'm going to receive that as a compliment.
Oh, absolutely.
Keena, what you got for me? I'm looking for a compliment. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Drew, I think of you as, like I've told you before, I think of you as a visionary. I think of you as a person where you can see the vision, you can see what the opportunity is, what the path is, and you don't mind asking for what you need. And I think that that's something that you help teach other people.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What you got, babe? Love you, kidding.
Look, he's like, okay, everybody.
I almost have to blush. It's not easy for me to receive this, y'all. It's really not. I'm working on myself.
Yeah, there's 2 words. All you got to say is 2 words. Remember we talked about that.
What's that?
First of all, let me say, I think it's dope that you are simply accepting it and not pushing it away. We talked about this.
Yeah. Accept your blessings.
Yeah, accept your blessings. And you know what? It's okay to just say thank you, and that's enough. Mm-hmm. You know, accept your blessings. You accept it. You don't have to accept it, but if you do, then you can. You don't have to, though. You also don't have to accept or agree with what other people say about you or think about you. If you don't feel like that's your path.
100%.
If you don't feel like that's the version that you align with.
I like that.
But if you do, then you can. All right.
Everybody's still waiting on Andrea. We like good, bad breakthrough.
Are you still waiting on me?
I think I was. Do you want to do it?
Are we waiting? Dreya, you don't have to. You don't.
Do you want to?
It's
do you want to?
Andrew is a lifelong coach across the board from, leadership within the restaurant, leadership within our household, with friends, and he's constantly pushing us to be our best selves. What else is there? I know he's always challenging me to be my best self, and I already said that you're the connector, so no more putting me on the spot.
You're so funny.
She's like, okay, you really want me to tell you everything I love about you right now?
I know. Then
you waited. You're like, no, we're not getting off.
Yeah,
what do you love about me right now, babe?
I just gonna say you got to be a little careful going on a date now because he's gonna be so pumped up. You gotta watch out.
I'm gonna ask like 50 more questions that you didn't cover.
I want to say one quick thing. Dreya is one of the most thoughtful people. Everything she does and contributes to this podcast is so thoughtful. I appreciate that very much about her. And Keena, you're just like this vibrant light that just comes in, and you just bring this joyous light to the podcast. So that's what I think about you. True, thoughtful, light. Those are my 3 words for you.
We changing the name. True Thoughtful Light Podcast, y'all.
You keep it.
Thoughtful Light Podcast.
Love you guys very much.
Yeah.
I love you too, Jason.
Good, bad breakthrough. You can find us on all platforms, man. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and you can even find us on Audible. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to say I'm reading from a teleprompter on the bottom because I don't know if it's a teleprompter, but it's a little banner that says everything. So I'm just keeping my bars, using my tools and resources. Episode 21. We done.
Episode 21 in the books.
Holla back.